When two people suddenly stop contacting each other, most think the story is ending. But in reality, this is where the real psychological game of love silently begins. On the surface, it looks like distance, silence, and emotional coldness. But inside a woman's mind, it is the start of one of the most powerful emotional evaluations she will ever do. Women do not just feel absence. They analyze it, they compare it, and they study it. A woman's psychology works intensely during silence. When communication stops, her emotional brain wakes up. She begins to replay every conversation, every tone, every moment of affection, every mistake, and every missed opportunity. She notices things she didn't pay attention to before. Silence becomes a mirror, and in that mirror, she sees you, not how you were, but who you truly are to her. Women don't miss your texts first. They miss the energy you brought into their life. When both sides go quiet, a natural emotional imbalance forms. Women are deeply tuned to emotional presence. They feel when your attention shifts, when your effort fades, when your consistency breaks. The lack of communication forces her to confront her own feelings without distraction. She begins questioning who reached out more, who cared deeper, who held the emotional weight, who truly mattered. These questions trigger a level of emotional honesty she cannot hide from. And as silence grows, so does comparison. She compares how she felt with you versus how she feels now. The comfort, the laughter, the emotional safety, they return in waves. Women often realize your importance during distance, not during closeness. Silence does something powerful. It removes noise, removes ego, removes pride. And in that emptiness, she feels your presence stronger than ever. If you had a positive emotional impact on her, the silence will work in your favor. If you are inconsistent, selfish, or careless with her emotions, silence will expose you. Distance amplifies truth. It shows her what her heart refused to accept before. It reveals whether your connection was real or just convenient. Psychologically, the moment she notices you aren't chasing, calling, or seeking validation anymore, her attachment system activates. That's when she begins thinking more about you than she ever did when you were available. Her curiosity grows. Is he moving on? Did he stop caring? Was I wrong about his feelings? This curiosity turns into reflection, reflection into emotional tension, and emotional tension into desire. Silence becomes the teacher she never expected. But here's the real game. When you both stop contacting each other, the one who breaks first isn't the weaker one. The one who reflects deeper is. Women don't break silence because they miss your words. They break silence when their heart realizes what it lost. And that realization comes only through absence. Silence is not a weapon. Silence is clarity. It shows a woman whether she was truly connected or just emotionally comfortable. It reveals whether the bond was real or just routine. And it forces her to confront the truth her emotions often try to hide. So when the communication stops, understand this: the real game of love is not played in messages. It is played in the mind, in reflection, in emotional comparison, and in the sudden understanding of what life feels like without you. Silence doesn't end love, it exposes it. And in those quiet moments, a woman finally discovers whether you were just part of her day or part of her heart. Beatty, silence activates emotional clarity in women more than arguments ever can, because silence removes all the noise that normally hides the truth. When communication stops, a woman's brain shifts into a deeper emotional processing mode. It's not anger, and it's not coldness, it's clarity. Arguments, debates, and back and forth conversations often turn into emotional storms where both people defend their point, protect their pride, and try to be right. But silence is different. Silence is like turning off all the lights in a room so you can finally see what glows in the dark. Women gain more emotional honesty from silence than from any intense conversation, because silence forces them to face feelings they can't avoid. In silence, a woman has no external distraction, no messages to decode, no tone to interpret, no behavior to question. Her mind is left alone with her emotions, and this is where the real psychological reflection begins. She starts asking herself questions she suppressed before. What do I truly feel? Did he value me? Did I value him? What did he bring into my life that I can feel missing now? Where did things change? Women think deeply, and silence makes them think even deeper. In fact, when there is no noise, a woman hears her heart more clearly than ever. Arguments trigger defenses, but silence triggers introspection. When a man goes quiet, or when both people stop contacting each other, a woman's emotional memory activates. She starts to replay conversations, not to blame, but to understand. She remembers how he made her smile, how he made her feel safe, or how he made her feel unseen. Silence allows these memories to rise without interruption. She begins to revisit moments she ignored, kindness she didn't appreciate enough, or disrespect she tolerated for too long. This clarity is powerful because it shapes her next emotional choice. It decides whether she comes closer or pulls away permanently. Many women don't understand how much a man meant until silence creates space for realization. When a man's presence was stable, his energy felt normal. But when his voice disappears, when his attention stops, when his consistency fades, the silence hits harder than any breakup conversation. Silence is not just the absence of words, it is the absence of emotional energy. Women feel that absence intensely. They begin to ask themselves why they feel this emptiness, and this leads them to understand the depth of their attachment. Psychologically, silence triggers the emotional evaluation system in the female mind. Women naturally reflect on relationships more than men, and silence accelerates this process. It makes her analyze the value the man added to her life. Did he make her grow? Did he make her feel protected? Did he inspire her? Or did he drain her, confuse her, and make her feel small? Silence exposes truth without sugarcoating. A woman learns more about her feelings in a week of silence than in months of conversation because silence removes excuses and forces reality to show itself. Women often gain emotional clarity through contrast. When communication ends, she instantly compares how she felt when he was present to how she feels now that he is not. If her heart feels lighter, silence is healing her. If her heart feels heavier, silence is revealing how deeply she cared. This clarity becomes the turning point. Silence becomes the emotional microscope that magnifies everything she tried to ignore. The smile she lost, the comfort she misses, or the pain she underestimated. Silence makes all of this impossible to avoid. Another psychological truth is that silence forces women to confront what was real and what was imagined. Sometimes emotions create illusions, making her believe a connection was stronger than it truly was. Silence breaks that illusion. If the man's absence barely affects her, her mind understands she was attached to the idea of him, not the reality. But if the absence hurts deeply, silence exposes how much she invested emotionally even if she never admitted it out loud. This is why silence creates clarity. It separates the emotional fantasy from the emotional truth. Silence also reveals accountability. When a woman sits alone with her thoughts, she begins to see her own role clearly. She understands where she overreacted, where she misunderstood, or where she took him for granted. Silence softens ego and melts pride because no one is there to argue with. She begins to take emotional responsibility, but she also sees where he failed, where he was inconsistent, where he made her insecure. Silence provides the balance that arguments never do. Arguments shift blame. Silence reveals shared responsibility. Emotional clarity is impossible during conflict, but unavoidable during distance. Silence allows a woman to decide her next step with logic and emotion combined. She can finally ask herself, does this relationship serve me? Do I feel valued? Do I feel loved? Can this be repaired? Should I let go? Silence provides the answers because silence slows down the heart enough for the mind to speak. Ultimately, silence works like emotional truth serum for a woman. It makes her feel what she truly feels, not what she wishes she felt. It forces her to confront values, desires, regrets, fears, and longings that arguments bury. Silence does not confuse a woman, it clarifies her. It turns emotional noise into emotional wisdom. And in that clarity, she discovers whether she wants to walk away forever or whether the connection meant more than she ever realized.